It's not my job to have all the answers. It's my job to have the right people around me to make those decisions, to bring the different perspectives to the table for us to collectively brainstorm what's the right decision and how does it impact all the stakeholders and people involved. If it's solely on one individual or a group of people that all think, look, and feel the same way, you're going to be very single-sided and limited in terms of your ideas, your innovation, and all the thoughts and decisions and solutions that are driven from your company, your group of people.
Hello, everyone. Patrick and I are really excited to come to you today with a new series that will be rolling out in our podcast. So if you've been with us this far, by the time you listen to this, we will have released just about 30 episodes between the Book of Law, Season 1, and Leadership and Motivation Unleashed, Season 2. We've covered topics across the spectrum, everything that connects to workplace, ethics, politics, interaction, what helps people succeed, what causes people to fail. We've tackled some really timely topics like AI, remote work, and then some really old school topics like how to handle bad behavior, right? How to plan a career path that will get you where we want to go. You've heard our hot takes on all of these. In many cases, Patrick and I agree with each other. In some cases, we disagree with each other. And we've also had such different experiences that we may have been in similar situations, but came out of it with very different takes or different perspectives because of our personalities, because of the roles that we held, and also the types of environments and the types of perspectives that we came to those with. And we hope you've enjoyed it. What we're going to do next is something a little interesting. Over the course of some of these same episodes, we have mentioned names of people that we admire, people that we've worked with over the years that have taught us lessons, that have dropped quotes, that have handled situations in really unique ways. And what we are going to do over the next series is introduce you to some of our favorite people. Patrick and I have reached out to some of the folks in our network who we feel have particularly unique experiences, perspectives, and stories that we'd like for them to share with you. And they've graciously agreed to come on our podcast and have conversations with us. And some of them will share different takes that they have on topics we've already covered. And others might share just different unique perspectives that we wouldn't be able to offer because we haven't had those experiences. And so over the next, probably couple of months, we are going to introduce you to some of our favorite people. We're really curious to hear from you if you like this format, if you'd like to have more conversations with others, or if you have any questions for our guests. I'm sure they'll be really excited to hear your feedback as well.
I love diversity of thought, and the list of people are diverse as it comes with regards to their experiences and the way they think and the greatness they've delivered into the environments they've populated. So I think everyone's going to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it.
Hello there. Welcome to this special guest episode of Leadership and Motivation Unleashed. I am so excited today to introduce you to Adam Gunn, who will be our special guest today. Adam and I work together at Stryker, and sadly, we haven't been as in touch since we both left the company, but this is such a great excuse to reconnect. Adam is, as you'll hear, he introduces himself and he shares some of his insights and experiences. You'll see that he's unique in lots of ways. He is a driven, competitive commercial sales leader who has accomplished amazing things. He's also a genuinely kind and good person who always does the right thing. And he cares about the team and community above and beyond just his own interests. And that, I think, is going to come through very clearly as he shares his story. Adam's going to share some unique insights about how leadership shows up in different ways, right? Patrick and I have talked so much about leadership and leadership styles. Patrick and some of our previous guests have shared nuances and insights about leadership from the military. And Adam's going to talk about leadership from a different environment, right? That has added a tremendous amount to the business space or the corporate world. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Adam to introduce himself and also tell us a little bit what he's doing now, because his current job is very, very unique and interesting. So, Adam, over to you. Tell us about you.
First off, thank you for that introduction. Anytime I need an introduction, I'm definitely going to call you to do it because that exceeded expectations for sure. I don't know if it was all true, but we'll take it.
I only speak the truth.
That's greatly appreciated. But Adam Gunn, I am a Pittsburgher, born and raised. I did 15 years at Stryker, where Rachel and I met and spent a lot of time together. But prior to that, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, where I played football and I studied communication rhetoric, but also have a master's in public administration and had a solid career in football and thought that I was going to make it to the NFL, but breaking my neck and a few other things set me back from accomplishing that goals. But thankfully, I had the right people around me and the foundation that the University of Pittsburgh gave me to step right into the real world, and was fortunate enough to land a job with Stryker right out of graduate school and really had an amazing time and experience over those 15 years at Stryker to really learn who I am as a salesperson, as a leader, and all those things that really prepare me for actually what I'm doing now. So just about a year ago, I left Stryker to start a company in the new NIL world at a very high level. What we do at No Cap Revenue Solutions is we help universities generate revenue to solve for two major problems that they have: donor fatigue and really revenue generation. If you think about the traditional college landscape, revenue is needed, and then you add in NIL, and NIL inflation is real. Dollars that they need are growing on a regular basis, and we're here to support that. So that's who we are at No Cap Revenue Solutions, and I would love to answer any more questions that you have in terms of my journey and that sort of thing, but Stryker is at the core of it and couldn't be more excited about the new journey that we have with an NIL with No Cap Revenue Solutions.
That is so awesome. And thanks for joining. So most people who know me know that I pretend to be a sports fan because that's how I spend time with my kids. So I actually am very proud that I know what NIL means. But can you explain to our audience what NIL is?
Absolutely. So NIL, it stands for name, image, and likeness. And what happened about a little over 5 years ago now is that athletes are now able to be paid for their athletics, for their name, image, and likeness that they represent. Previously, in college, you weren't allowed to be paid. You had to be a professional. That has all changed as of a little over 5 years ago. And because of that, a whole new industry has been created to support name, image, and likeness in the college athletic space. And it's really been an exciting journey and an ever-evolving landscape within higher education and college athletics in this new NIL era.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. One other thing that you and I have in common, Adam, is that we both have Stryker hardware in our necks.
Yes.
Who knew? So you work for the company, but it stays inside you forever, which is so awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for my great experiences there, and I think you are also.
Do you have a stimulator in, Adam?
No stimulator. Yeah, just plates and screws. So yeah, when I broke my neck, I had a C4, C5 fusion. So yeah.
My wife is 2 through 5 fused. So she's almost immobile. She had a childhood accident and she has a stimulator in that she can control the pain she's under. So maybe we should title this podcast Grit, Determination, Perseverance, because you obviously have all of those. That's a hell of an injury to navigate and come back from.
Yeah, for sure. But if I could go through it all over again, I would, because of what it's taught me, what it allowed me to accomplish, and really figure out who I was as a person and a leader, and what I was able to overcome. So I would go through it all over again if I had the choice.
Yeah, that takes strength of character to be able to say that. So NIL is such a cool space for the reasons you described on the revenue front, right? And it's essentially created a brand new industry with a ton of white space that didn't exist before. But on a human note, I reflect on how much opportunity it's probably created for student athletes who may have gotten full rides to college, but still may have had trouble paying for all the other stuff, right, that you have to pay for when you're a student, and not having time to hold a job. Because if you're a student athlete, you're busy in practice so many hours a week. I mean, this has probably changed students' lives in so many ways and probably leveled the playing field of their experiences, right, compared to maybe some other students whose parents were paying all their bills.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And something I don't think many people think about, but NIL is probably one of the greatest opportunities for transfer of wealth in the history of our country, right? You think about a lot of the athletes, they're coming from underserved communities or just different socioeconomic backgrounds. So now they have the opportunity to capitalize on their athletic abilities, and they're getting this money at such an early age where if they were to invest it and do the right things with it, the lifetime and how they can impact not just their legacy, but their family's legacy is significant. So it's my job and so many others in this new industry to make sure that they have the right people and are able to make the right decisions so that they're capturing this newfound wealth that can impact not just their immediate lives, but the future and the next generation to come.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? Now you're part of sports, which you love, revenue generation, which you're great at, and a mission-driven purpose, which you greatly care about. Sounds like a dream job.
Rachel, honestly, it seriously is. So when I was a Stryker, I wasn't looking for a change. Life was really good. I loved what I was doing and who I was doing it with. But as we started coming up with this concept and we started getting the validation that we needed and a yes after yes. I was like, you know what, if I'm ever going to leave Stryker, this is exactly what I would leave it for, that intersection between sports and business. And if you think about my background, who I am to my core, this is where I'm supposed to be in life. And I couldn't be more excited about being a part of this industry and just doing what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with on this side. It's been a great year so far, and I can't tell you how excited we are about the future ahead.
That's amazing. Well, I'm thrilled for you and also for all the students and universities and brands that will benefit from this. So Patrick's going to ask soon about, the unique attributes that athletes bring and how those leadership skills are transferable. But before we get to that, I'm curious on your experience starting something so brand new that didn't exist before. How much of what you're encountering really is brand new and needs brand new tactics and strategies and processes, or how much of it is really transferable from your previous knowledge and expertise?
Yeah, great question. I guess I'll start with the transferable portion. And I would say people are people, relationships are relationships, and sales is sales, right? So if you can take care of people and treat people the way they want to be treated and think about all the different stakeholders that are involved in what you're building to make sure that you're creating a solution that solves for that, and you're able to develop very real and genuine relationships, things are going to go the way they're supposed to. People want to work with, support, and be around people that care about them and their successes and their best interests. So that's what we're doing. So that's what's very transferable and very natural for us. But to your point, there's a lot of new things that are popping up. So in this revenue share / NIL era of college athletics and higher education, there are new problems that are arising. So there are new solutions that need to be created. So the group or groups that create those new solutions are the ones that are going to be successful. But as long as they're doing it for the right reasons, not for wealth, not for self whatever, but for the stakeholders that are going to be impacted. That's the athletes, the universities. If you're creating solutions that are in their best interests, you're going to have success. And that's what we're focused on creating real solutions for real people.
I'm going to take us off script, Adam, if you're okay with that, because now I'm just super curious. Is there a large political component? I don't mean R's and D's across the aisle. I mean navigating agents, student athletes, the universities and colleges, whoever it is you're interfacing with? Or is it not a politically charged environment? Because NIL is so well understood and accepted, you don't have to navigate all that.
Yeah.
Or is it both? Depending on who you're dealing with.
Great question. It is not very understood. It's not very accepted. So what we're doing is extremely dynamic. So I actually compare it a lot to the medical device space because I consider medical devices one of the more dynamic and multi-leveled sales approaches or just approaches to a business. With what we're doing in NIL, you have to get so many different stakeholders involved along the way that it's so dynamic that it requires a very skilled or experienced individual that has experience in selling or connecting multiple dots rather than just a very single layered approach. So to call it political, yeah, maybe, but it's really just multifaceted, dynamic, and just a lot of stakeholders and people involved in every single process that's associated with the NIL landscape.
Nothing's easy, but was it easier? I'm lazy thinking today. Was it easier to enter the space as a prior student athlete because you know it backwards and forwards? Because you said sales is sales, people are people, but I was listening. I agree. But that's got to give you a leg up that you played the game. I don't mean the game of student athlete. I mean, you played a sport. You were on the field. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
It has to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand the perspective of the student athlete. I was very connected to the athletic department at the University of Pittsburgh when I was there. So I understand the situation and the dynamics of an athletic department. So to bring those two things together, yes, I would say that those are valuable things that I've experienced. And I think that will get into something I'm sure we'll talk about, and it's perspective, right? My perspective is very applicable to the space, which has been helpful for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are some of the advantages that athletes bring to work teams? Whether it was your time at Stryker, or you building your business, or teaming with universities and student athletes and agents and whoever your audience is at the time, like having been an athlete, what do you bring into the workplace that A, is natural because you've always been an athlete, I assume, unless you're a prodigy and you went into school and learned you could play. But your whole life you've been teaming, grinding, playing, keeping yourself fit, healthy as best you could. How does that manifest itself into a corporate environment, team environment?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of athletes transitioning into the real world and corporate America, if you want to call it that. What I value in those athletes is obviously the competitiveness, the work ethic, the teamwork aspect, the leadership skills, and just the pressure that you have to be under as a student athlete every single day. The two things that really stand out to me, though, is the competitiveness and the ability to accept feedback. So when I say competitiveness, I'm not talking about competing against each other. I'm talking about competing against themselves. So athletes, in my experience, have this innate ability to really push themselves and not accept just being average or being okay, because you can't be average as an athlete. If you're average, you're going to sit the bench. You have to be extraordinary. And that translates perfectly into the work world, where they push themselves to learn more, to be better, to take in everything they possibly can, to be the best version of themselves, because that's the only way that they know how to operate. Because otherwise, you're not going to be a successful athlete. And then in regards to the feedback piece, that's such an important, because you have to be able to accept feedback. You have to take it to learn, grow, and be better. Athletes were just crushed by their coaches over the years. Up and down the field, if you don't do the right thing, you're going to hear about it. So when we get into the workplace and we give feedback that's, hey, could you do this a little differently? That's nothing in comparison with that coach just did to them for the last 10 years of their life. So they accept feedback better because they're just used to receiving feedback on an ongoing, honestly, daily, hourly, play-by-play basis.
Minus all the colorful metaphors they drip in while they're course correcting you, I take it as well.
Yes. But a little less age-friendly on that side.
There's an interesting nuance between being aggressive and being a teammate. It doesn't sound like those words would naturally fit. So from a leadership perspective, dripping that esprit de corps or that emotional energy to conquer, win, move forward, matriculate the ball down the field type dialoguing, there's a nuance to it that did you have it right away, or did you learn it as your career in the real world, as you called it? And look, at corporate America is the real world, and we're all in trouble, just for the record. But did you go in knowing all that, or did you learn it as you go?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some innate things that successful people have, but also if you're not learning, growing, and adapting over time either, you're going to be left in the dust. So I think it's a combination of both. And when I talk about the competitiveness or aggressiveness, I'm not talking necessarily competing against others by any means. It's really those that are able to compete against themselves and be aggressive internally. And people, their coworkers don't feel that per se, but internally they're driven to be better, to grow and learn and be the best teammate possible, not necessarily to crush their coworkers or be better than them, just to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, I guess the nuance part was some people who don't enjoy your level of emotional intelligence might drift into that. Like make it a game or make it a one-on-one competition. I'm a better sales guy than that guy. And salespeople, for the most part, I'm an ops guy by trade, ops and tech. They're naturally aggressive and competitive. So having the student athlete or any type of athlete piece of it probably drives it a little harder.
Yeah, absolutely. But you said something that I think is extremely important. That's emotional intelligence. Whether that can be taught or not, TBD, I don't have that answer. But those that have very strong emotional intelligence are able to fine tune their aggressive, competitive approach. And that's what's going to make them successful. you can be competitive, but when people feel that competition, it rubs people the wrong way. So you have to be able to nurture it in a way that's really self-motivating rather than crushing everyone around you.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Somebody who knows a lot more about a lot of sports than I do once was trying to explain to me the character traits that you see in athletes in different sports based on whether it's team-oriented or it's a more individual sport, or whether, on that team, everyone kind of has to do everything together playing different roles, or they do everything together in the same way. And it's really what you've been conditioned to do, right? I mean, I think also about results orientation, right? So I think with a lot of, sometimes you have somebody in the workforce and you give them an assignment, or sometimes we have this challenge with our children where we're like, hey, we want you to do this. And they're like, well, I tried. Well, you didn't get it done, so it doesn't count, right? But if you're an athlete, you can practice all you want, but if it's not making you better, then it's not worth anything. So being results oriented, especially in jobs like sales, it's really helpful to have that preparation in advance. I mean, Patrick, how many, and Adam, you've for sure seen salespeople who had to learn that in a sales job, and that usually doesn't end well, right? Doesn't end well. Another thing is the ability to juggle, because life is complicated. When people start out in their careers, they probably don't anticipate how much more complicated life gets. And sometimes it's family, having children. Sometimes it's taking care of family members that need your help. Sometimes it's your health and wellness, hobbies that you want to pursue, but life gets complicated. And I've always looked at athletes and have said, wow, if you can carry a full college course load and also wake up at 4:00 in the morning to do your practice and juggle everything successfully, that's a really great indicator that you can manage your work and your life and everything else.
Absolutely. The thing that's coming to my mind right now is adversity. The adversity you face as a student athlete is very real. I could tell you some of the things that I face as a student athlete are way more difficult than I'll ever have to face in my life. Obviously, breaking my neck is one of those examples, and there are a few others. There's nothing in life that I'm going to face that is going to be more difficult than that. So that's prepared me for a lot of different things. And also as a student athlete, the adversity you face in terms of the people in front of you to make your way up a depth chart, or just the rigors of, call it the job, but going to practice. But to your point, Rachel, managing the workload, meaning the practice schedule, the school on top of that, all those different aspects. And then you're also trying to compete and earn a roster spot. Here's something that's kind of controversial, but we'll see how this all lands over the next few years. Is adversity is one of those number one traits that I appreciate in a student athlete. Now with the transfer portal, it's important to differentiate NIL from the transfer portal, two very different things. But now they have the ability to transfer at the first sign of adversity. So will that same mental toughness translate with student athletes moving forward? I think it's TBD. So we'll see.
We pick our topics based on what we imagine is on the minds of many, but we are not mind readers. So please use our form, which we'll link for you in the show notes, to suggest additional topics we should consider, request to be a guest on our show, or give us constructive criticism, which will make our podcast more valuable for many. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Tell us more about what that means. I think I can guess, but I want to make sure I understand. What is the transfer portal?
Yeah, so the transfer portal is how student athletes today, they're able to change the school that they're in on a regular basis. So there's no restrictions, there's no penalty to transfer your school. What you're seeing a lot of times is if an athlete doesn't make it to where they expect to be on the depth chart, or they're not getting the playing time that they anticipated, they're able to leave with no penalty. So with that, previously, if that's the case, if you're not playing, your opportunity or your options were to work hard and earn that spot, or you could leave, but it's with penalties. So people didn't leave. They worked through that adversity, those challenges. So now when that's not the case, the question is, will athletes still have that same mental toughness and ability to overcome adversity the way that they previously have? I think it's something that we'll see over the years, but that's one question that I have in this new landscape that we have in college athletics.
That is so interesting. So that means that athletic departments from other universities can essentially poach students. And then what happens to all their transfer credits? I mean, do they check or do they not care? Will this school accept my credits? Do I need to stay longer so that I because some schools will only accept a certain number of transfer credits. So is this only at the very beginning, or do they not consider the academics so much if the sports are more important?
Great question. Literally this morning, I was listening to Coach Calipari deliver a message on this exact topic. Is students are not graduating at the same rate because of the amount of transferring that they're doing. And they don't have a home base. So typically, if you were to get through school and go to the pros or whatever it may be, and you want to go back to get your degree, you have that school and they're going to welcome you back with open arms, with a full scholarship and all those things.
Like Steph Curry did that, right?
Exactly. But now, since you don't have a home base because you've been to 4 different schools over the years, you don't have a place to call home and no one will bring you back with those open arms that we once received. So that's an impact. And to your point, it's not as much about academics today as it is about the money, good or bad, right? I think athletes should absolutely be being paid, but it has turned into a professional sport where it's less about academics and more about the money and everything else associated.
Was it Nick Saban that went on that rant on the Saturday kickoff show on ESPN about this? You know what I'm talking about? It was pretty famous. Like, I could be probably that general and you know what I'm talking about. Was that him?
Yes. Yeah, he did a long rant. He is not a fan of NIL and how it's kind of changed college athletics and his viewpoint.
Yeah, Rachel, you should go Google it and watch it.
Yeah.
Because he did a really good job. Not that you didn't, Adam, but it's interesting watching Coach Saban, who's a legend already. So interesting.
So as just to play devil's advocate and also acknowledging that I'm probably missing some of the nuance here, again, because I'm only a pretend sports fan. But it's really easy to say that if you don't need the money.
Very much so.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Wait. Say what? What does that mean?
To say, oh, NIL is ruining college sports and it's right, unless you're the student that actually needs that money to start your new life to.
I don't want to argue with this in front of Adam because he's the expert, but I'd have to say, Rachel, a lot of people like the NCAA because it was kids with heart soaring for the money if they make it to the majors. I'm calling it the majors, NFL, whatever. So there's a lot of people that don't see the same desire. I mean, there's kids knocking down $7 million deals in the NIL. That may be low. Adam may have better numbers than me, but was it Archie Manning that just got $7 million? Was that him?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, that's a lot of money for a 20-year-old or 21-year-old.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I would say to that is, yes, they're making a lot of money, but the desire to compete and win is still there. The reason why they're making that money is because they have competed and won and have that desire to be great. So if you don't have that in you, you're not going to be making the money because you're not going to be the star that you are.
Yeah. I was jumping on the Saban bandwagon for just a second. I'll stop doing that. I shouldn't even try.
I love it.
No, awesome. Thank you. I'm learning so much about this. So another question, Adam, you and I have talked a lot about this when we worked together because we did a lot of work attracting talent from untapped talent pools, underserved groups to really diversify and differentiate the people that we were bringing onto the teams. And so I'm curious to hear from you. You know, we talked a lot about what this means for college athletes, right? What they bring to the table. But as business leaders, what should they be thinking about when they're looking at bringing in different talent, you know, specifically for revenue-oriented roles, where a lot of the qualities that you described in athletes really help? When and where and how does this matter most, right, when it comes to this type of diversity of thought, experience, adversity?
Yeah, this is honestly something I'm extremely passionate about, as you know, right? As we are equally as passionate about this at our time at Stryker. For me, I can almost give you a real life example and what I'm facing today, and it will kind of bring it all together for us. So at NoCap, we have a very diverse group of people from different walks of life, perspectives, work experiences, all those things. So when we get together as a team, so many different ideas, perspectives, and stakeholders are involved in our decision-making and brainstorming sessions. One, as a leader, I could think, man, why don't I think of it that way? But I think the complete opposite. It's not my job to have all the answers. It's my job to have the right people around me to make those decisions, to bring the different perspectives to the table for us to collectively brainstorm what's the right decision and how does it impact all the stakeholders and people involved. If it's solely on one individual or someone or a group of people that all think, look, and feel the same way, you're going to be very single-sided and limited in terms of your ideas, your innovation, and all the thoughts and decisions and solutions that are driven from your company, your group of people. So couldn't say more about how important it is about having diverse perspectives, thoughts, all the things as part of your group, and you're really taking everyone's opinions and perspectives at heart to make the right decisions.
So, Adam, did Rachel support you as an HRBP and she was helping you find talent for your sales teams? Or did you guys work on D&I stuff only, or both?
D&I stuff, and then obviously friends and supporter in life. So all that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if she supported you from an HR perspective, like in your business at Stryker. Because I was going to ask you if you have any good Rachel stories from day-to-day activity of working together. But if she wasn't your HRBP and you were working on BRG stuff, I guess it would be a different dialogue.
Yeah, different dialogue.
I can't find anything about her other than excellence. Like, I keep waiting for someone to say, yeah, but no one does.
Nothing but excellence. All great stuff.
I'm blushing. No, Adam and I did a lot of great work together, bringing a lot of people along on the DE&I journey that never would have expected to be there. And we both did it from a very commercial, results-oriented perspective. The team needs to grow. We want to hire the best people for the job. Why should we only limit ourselves to the networks that we've been mining over the past years? Like, we don't even know what kind of talent we're leaving on the table, and we're not even reaching because we're not going to look in those places in the right ways. And Adam, we were able to convert some real naysayers, right? Who maybe sort of came in with a little bit of an eye roll or, okay, somebody's making me do this. And they were on board because we were doing what was best for the business so that we can provide the best support for customers, right? That was ultimately the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stryker sounds like an amazing company. Why would anyone leave it? We don't have to put this in the podcast, producers, but it's curious because Olivia was at Stryker. Now I've met Adam. I don't think, was it Steven?
No, he wasn't there. No.
He wasn't there. Okay. And you talk about Stryker like it's the second coming.
Yeah. It's a really, really good company and they do things for the right reasons. So integrity and ethics and doing the right thing and the utmost of security and safety in terms of, making sure medical devices are being used for the right purposes.
I hope so, considering you're both wearing hardware.
I know, exactly. And also making sure that, if there's any hint of anything wrong with anything, that all employees know they have an obligation to report, and there's a very clearly documented process. And Adam, Patrick is a big fan of Gallup StrengthsFinder. So at Stryker, Gallup Strengths is like in the blood.
Everything.
And people use it in their language. And in fact, there's not only is everyone really guided by strengths, but also Gallup is a really important part of the way engagement is measured and also some of the selection criteria. So they've created some very scientifically valid assessments to align talent themes with success criteria in jobs. So they choose great people and they treat people really well. And it's a high-performing organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. People call us crazy for leaving. I take it as I left, but I'm still very connected. It's who I am. And I wanted to take a chance and make some really big decisions and solve some really big problems. And I'm only where I'm at in life and able to make that decision because of Stryker.
I think that's awesome. And look, everyone, if you feel like you need to go take a shot, I've always preached, if that's a word to use, that people should try it. Don't be afraid to jump out and see what you can do and then own the outcome.
Absolutely.
I have one more. So was Stryker your first job after school?
It was.
How did you find them or how did they find you?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to it at the very beginning in terms of Pitt gave me a great foundation and support system. So whenever I realized that the professional sports or NFL wasn't going to work out for me, I was already networking. Right? I knew I wanted to get into sales and I knew that medical device was one of the highest paying. So I was like, you know what? I want that one. Didn't know anything about it. Had no idea what it was all about. But I started to learn more as I was going through the process. And it came down to it. It's like, I want to work for Stryker. And fortunately, there were former Pitt football players that worked there and just made the connections. And not too soon after I made those connections, I had a job. So very fortunate from that standpoint.
Was that part of the D&I program, Rachel, that athletes, or no, it just kind of worked out that way that athletes found Stryker? Or is that something you guys sought out?
Yeah, great.
So that program had been around for a really, really long time because Stryker has very long-standing relationships with the NFL Legends alumni program and also other sports, right? Adam, do you remember we did that webinar with NFL, I guess, Legends? And my kids thought I was so cool. Like, it only lasted for 5 minutes. But I think, was it RG3? Am I getting that right? He was on the webinar that I spoke at. So I was cool mom for a hot second, which made me feel really good. So those relationships have been established for a long time. I think it connected very deeply with the DE&I programs because, first of all, as Adam alluded to before, right, athletics, some sports more than others and different demographics and dynamics, but there is a lot of diversity within sports. Patrick, you and I have talked about the diversity within the enlisted military population also, right? So finding that congruence of diversity of experience, right, and identity together with the skill set and activities, right, and the knowledge that people bring is like the perfect mix. So they were very closely connected, but this is not a new thing at all.
Congruence, confluence, perfect word to use with a Pittsburgher on the phone. Allegheny, Monongahela, Ohio.
That's it.
Is that the Clemente Bridge behind you?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. PNC Park is my favorite ballpark to watch a ball game in. When you can see the city of Pittsburgh over that outfield wall, it's heaven sitting there.
Nothing better.
Okay, are we ready for lightning round?
Let's do it.
Okay, quick answers. First question, Adam, who is a leader that you admire most, dead or alive?
This is not a quick answer, unfortunately, because I have admired and learned from every single leader that I've ever been around, you included, Rachel. And I've taken a piece of every single leader that I was either a partner with or that I reported to, and it definitely encompasses who I am as a leader today. So I would say always be listening and learning to those around you so you can figure out how you incorporate that into your leadership style and be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And only take the best from every leader that you're around. Leave the rest behind if there is any. What achievement are you most proud of?
Yeah, this is one that stands out for me without a doubt. It is my first year being a sales leader. Your job at Stryker is to get every single one of your teammates across their quota line. Ultimately, that impacts the team positively. But in my first year as a leader, I was able to welcome every single one of my teammates on my team on that stage when they achieve their quota. And being on that stage, giving them all the hugs and having all the feels, that's when I knew this is what I was destined to do because I cared more about their success than my own. And when I felt that, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life is be a leader, a sales leader, a commercial leader, whatever it may be, because I want to see the success of others and be there to support them in their journey.
The coolest part is how many of them saw that and learned that from you and will carry that through with them to their leadership journeys.
Yeah.
Right? How awesome is that?
For sure.
What about your biggest mistake?
Cop-out answer here. What I would say is I don't have any mistakes in my life. They're all lessons learned. So my approach to life is learn from every situation that I'm in. So the next time I'm there, I can make a more efficient, better, more effective decision because of the learnings from that previous decision. And I'm a big believer in the quote that's behind me, and that's life is 10% about what happens to you and 90% how you respond. It's not about what happens. It's about how you overcome it. And there's two ways you can go. You can go positive or negative. My choice is always positive and find the good in it or find a lesson learned so that I can be a better person, a better leader because of that experience.
True lessons for life, indeed. Thank you for sharing. Wow, so many takeaways from this conversation. Adam, any final words that you want to share?
Yeah, what I would say is, first off, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you thinking of me for your podcast. Obviously, you are a big reason on who I am the way I am today. So thank you for you being the leader and person that you are. And I would say NIL is, some people call it the wild, wild west and the crazy world of NIL. I would say that's not the case. It's just new. And we're figuring this thing out, and it's going to be a really good space with a lot of essentially a brand new industry. So a lot of problems to solve, but we're solving them, and really excited to be a part of this NIL journey.
Adam, it was a pleasure meeting you. This was great. People are going to hear some things, walk away with some things, have some things to think about, work on. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so many takeaways here. I usually try and just recap with a couple of practical, tactical takeaways. I mean, first of all, I think just listening to you and learning from you, Adam, is an amazing experience for our audience. I think for those who don't know a lot about sports, probably learned a couple of new buzzwords so that you can also pretend to be a sports fan like I do.
You got to stop saying that because your boys have got you so far down the field at this point. You are a sports fan.
I know, but you know what? I only know an inch deep and a mile wide, so I can only have the beginnings of a conversation. So one day, we'll see. But a few other takeaways, the value that athletes bring and that diversity of all forms bring to a team. And if you are an athlete, if you are somebody with a unique life story, a unique skill set and experience, use that to your advantage when you're interviewing for a job, when you're looking for your next step. If you're a business leader and you are trying to grow your team and you want to look for success, broaden your mind and heart to consider talent from different places, right? Get connected with the athletic organization at your alma mater or at your local university and figure out a way to support some athletes and their teams. And you can build some relationships that can help you a ton, right, throughout life. So Adam, before we hang up, can you tell our listeners how they can get in touch with No Cap? Who are the stakeholders that you serve? Are there brands if they want to advertise with you? If they're athletic departments or agents or athletes that are listening, how do they get in touch with No Cap?
Yeah, quite a few different ways in terms of different stakeholders that we touch. So yes, brands on our No Cap brand solutions side. So if you have any interest in working with athletes, we can help and support you there. University stakeholders, whether that's presidents, chancellors, athletic directors, fundraisers, we support you as well. And then also businesses. So if you're a business and you want to give back to your school without coming out of pocket any further, we have B2B services that can be integrated into your business for a contribution back to what you care about. And a lot of times it's athletics. So those are the three stakeholders that we serve with our company. How you can reach me, reach out to me directly. My email is adam.gunn@nocapsports.io. Happy to take any meetings, any calls for anyone to learn more or support anyone that's in their journey. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Adam. It was so great to see you, to reconnect, and so appreciate your insights and your lessons.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Be great, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Leadership and Motivation Unleashed. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review. It only takes 1 minute and it helps the show grow and reach more leaders like you in search of advice and motivation.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Please remember to share with your friends and family and coworkers, mentors, trusted advisors. This show is for everybody. See you next time.